Well, there you go. It's finally been confirmed. They finally said it. Eric is the Ariel. Ariel is the Eric. It has been finally revealed. All of the theory crafters can finally go, oh, okay, just settle or find something else to look into. Honestly, it feels like this episode had so much stuff in it, so many reveals, that it feels like, what is there left? I am starting to really feel like this could just be a 2-core series, and that's it. Because I think everything's kind of building up. We've revealed everything about Ariel. We revealed the whole project itself. We revealed what Quiet Zero is. We revealed there's nothing really left to do besides to introduce another faction, I guess. And that's about the only thing they could do. I mean, they've sort of pre-established this environment as being just all these companies in different locations as far as Mercury itself. And they're all companies building robots, or at least machines, and this one company that rules over them all. Well, yes, you do have the front management and everything like that, but no real, like, there's another galaxy or something like that with other factions or anything like that. It really has established this is it, and we've kind of revealed the big core concept behind the Gundams and this big massive project and what it's planning on doing. Now, yes, we're going to get into exactly what Quiet Zero is and why Prospera wants it, because they've sort of kind of hinted at the very end of the episode that that's more than what you need for Quiet Zero. What else are you actually planning on doing? It's just this idea of rewriting the world. She wants to change everything, all for Eric, which I think it's probably deep rooted in the idea of what happened at that facility, what the original prologue was all about, and how she lost her child essentially through this whole conflict. And I think that's probably going to be at the core of it. She wants to recreate a world where her child could have lived on happily, but I don't know. Again, it really does feel like everything has been revealed, and there's not really much else to get into at this point. But again, we still have a whole left of the season to do, and so I'm hoping they at least have something in there. But yes, we have a part of this episode is from Prospera's perspective. She is still trying to recruit Miorine. She has revealed to her that her mother was the one that actually created the whole idea of Quiet Zero, which is interesting. I think it's probably going to go into one of those elements of she created this project, but it wasn't for this reason. It's always going to be that aspect of that somebody creates something for good, and then it kind of gets carried on by somebody else and perverted as it goes along. I mean, I think that's the concept of the original Gundam. And I think that the whole process was the gun arm thing. It was all about creating something that could be used medically to help people to be able to function normally as human beings. And then it got turned into Gundams. And it got turned into Quiet Zero. And it got turned into all this other stuff. And yes, it kind of insinuates that Miorine's mother at some point seen this whole gun arm technology and wanted to create something else that would be able to help mankind. Yeah, technically Miorine's mother could have liked the idea of creating something that controls everything. But it probably at its core was an idea of maybe controlling multiple things, controlling a more broader spectrum, easing the difficulties that we face through being able to control multiple things at once. And then, like I said, it gets passed on and turned into a gigantic weapon that is supposed to control everything. That's the end game that it ends up turning into. How much Miorine understands of that is the big question mark. It seems like Prospera pretty much is pretty clear with her. Like, she reveals everything. And Miorine's like, are you sure you want to tell me all this stuff? It's like, yeah, I know this is something you want to do. And you are required to make this happen. We've essentially lost your father, and he was heading this. I don't think Prospera needs Miorine as like specifically. She doesn't need specifically Delling, but I think she needs the Rembrandt name in order to make this keep going. And so without Delling, she needs Miorine. So Miorine's going to be able to take up the gavel, take up what the Rembrandt group wants, and be able to kind of carry it forward to continue the whole research behind Quiet Zero. And yes, the other scene with Prospera is with Belle, where Belle is pretty much like, okay, tell me the truth. What the heck is Ariel? And yes, that's where we get the big reveal that, yes, Belle's figured it out, that there's no way that Suletta can control all these gun bits. It's not going to happen. And so something else has to take the brunt. And yes, from what we've seen with the prologue, Eric was able to do that and not suffer the curse. And so Belle comes to the conclusion that, where's Eric? Where exactly is she at? Yes, she has made Ariel, or at least Eric, into Ariel. She has built her into there. Her brain or something is inside of there, and that's how it's able to control all these gun bits. It's never been on Suetta's hands. And it makes sense, because what does Suletta do whenever she's fighting? She's talking to Ariel. She's talking to Eric. She's saying, Eric, don't do this. Eric, help me. Let's go together. Let's everybody join together. And yes, there's still a theory looming that we haven't gotten into yet, which is, do the gun bits, each one of them, are they separate children? Because, again, theories based on the whole horoscoping and everything like that. And yes, technically they showed a brief shot. I don't remember who it was. I think it was Ellen or somebody was fighting her, and they seen children dancing around. So there's still that whole thing needs to be revealed, but at least we've kind of solidified, yes, Eric's inside there. She's the one that's controlling the gun bits. Even Suletta has to stop Eric from doing any further harm to Sophie. It is something that is technically built into Ariel. But the other kind of interesting thing is they put that little stinger in the end of there. They're saying, well, there's still more. Don't worry, we still have more to reveal, which is, why do you need that much? She's capable of way further than what this Quiet Zero project is, which, yes, at this point, they're kind of insinuating that Ariel herself is going to control Quiet Zero. I think that's what they've kind of established at this point. This is going to be something that's going to all come together, but the question mark is, why do you need that much power? Why do you need her to be able to do that much? It's because it's going to be much more than what they originally planned with Quiet Zero. Again, Quiet Zero would seem to be some sort of project to control other machines, this big, massive network, but why that far? That's the question mark. I believe that Quiet Zero is probably to be able to control everything, like in the universe or something like that, but why would it need to be even more? Unless Quiet Zero's original project was just to be able to control things near it, and they want to span out further to control the entire universe, that could be it. But that's kind of where they're going with. She wants to rewrite the world, which essentially is Prospera wants to control everything. Let's just be perfectly clear. I think it's going from being able to control a large network to be able to control everything. And again, I think it's because Prospera is so mad at the universe. She's mad at what happened to her and her family. They essentially stole everything from her. And again, I'm sort of theorizing the idea that it wasn't just what happened at the facility, that she lost her husband. I think what happened is beyond their leaving to Mercury, something happened to Eric, and she had no choice but to do something to preserve her, and that was to put her in Ariel. And now she wants to recreate everything. And I think what it's going to turn into, this is my random theory. I think what Eric wants, because Prospera is claiming that she wants to create a world for Eric. What Eric wants, she will be happy. I think Eric, being a child, has the mind that she wants to be friends with everybody. That's how it's always been. It's all about family. And I think the idea is to make everybody be friends with her, so you can control everything and they be one big happy family. It's probably gonna be twisted like that. Outside of all of that, I think the interesting thing that we kind of got from this episode is a lot of emphasis on the Gundams, the curse, and how Suletta's different. And I think this is all playing into an interesting thought process that I have that is sort of continuing to be, I guess, solidified. When you have this random thought and then over time, over the episode, you're like, yeah, I think that's where they're going. I think Suletta is brainwashed. I think that's been pretty obvious. Prospera has been manipulating Suletta for a long time. That's obvious. But there's a difference between manipulation and control, like actual brainwashing. And I'm thinking more and more that's the case with Suletta. Miorine even gets mad at Prospera. You're using your daughter. Not technically. I think most people have probably theorized at this point several times before that Suletta's not her daughter. It could be a clone of Eric, which I think that was my original thought process. And so Eleanor does have some sort of connection with Suletta. But I think this is more going in the realm of, yes, she sort of sees a bond with Suletta. She knows that Eric loves Suletta. They're piloting this thing together. So obvious that this is like a best friend of her daughter. And so she does care for her. She sent her here because she wanted to go there. It plays into their plans. And additionally, she's brainwashed her to a point that she believes that going forward, you gain too. Go forward, keep going forward, keep pushing forward, keep doing this stuff. You will save everybody. You and Ariel will save everybody. Keep moving forward. And never question what mom wants. That's the big key thing there, because in the end, after all this crazy stuff pops in her head, she sees that vision of her crushing that guy. She sees what happens in this fight. People are dying. Bloodshed's happening. And she's being faced by somebody that is just craving blood. All she wants is war and to be her family. And in that moment, yes, she sees death again. Somebody died by the curse. But while fighting, she keeps pushing into Suletta. This is a weapon. Why do you think it has all these attachments that blow up stuff? It's a weapon. It's to kill. What are you thinking? This isn't to save people. And then in the end, even though all of that, Suetta's really thinking about it. And then at the very end, oh, but I saved people. It's all good, right, Mom? It's like, it can't be. I don't think the writers are just making this really dumb main character. I really do think that she is thinking about this stuff. It's just something keeps making her not think about it. And that's what I was saying about in the last episode, Impressions. I wanted to see what Suletta was going to do after she just kills somebody. She goes back to normal. Happy-go-lucky. Because she's been so brainwashed to not think about it. She's been brainwashed to think that everything's fine. I'm saving people. I saved Miorine that day. Don't think about the tomato juice over here. Don't think about that. But she remembered it very briefly and then unthought about it. And then, yes, like I said, with this whole fight, she's thinking about it. Oh, wait, what did Mom create Ariel for? Mom created this thing that's a weapon. Why would she do that? Oh, don't think about it. It saves people. They're all about saving people. That's what they've always been. That's what Mom told me. Go forward, game 2. Suletta is obvious at this point. It's so obvious at this point. Unless the writers are just making a very dumb main character, she is brainwashed. And I'm curious when we're going to have that break point for her. Yes, finally we had Nika finally go to the front and tell them something. She's been doing something. It didn't really indicate that Nika told them much. Like she was going to confess, and then she got cut off. That's not part of Shaddiq's plans. You can't be talking to people behind our backs. And then it looked like the front management came in and took everybody from the Earth House at least, and they're looking for Nika. So maybe she sent something before she made the call, but it looks like the cat's out of the bag. Nika is done. Nika's done. Now, granted, she has been taken into Shaddiq's custody, so they're probably going to hide her away, but I'm guessing that's the wrap-up for her. I'm sure she's going to try to divulge what Shaddiq is doing if they do find her and Shaddiq somehow doesn't hide her well enough. But I don't think, I think she's dead. I don't want it because Nika's like one of my favorite characters, but I think she's dead. It was interesting to see that Sophie's gun bits was like just a bunch of Gundams. That was pretty cool. Unfortunately, very, very quick fight, unfortunately. It seemed like so much was crammed in this episode, but it was cool despite that. It almost had me thinking for a while there with Sophie that like the whole curse with the Gundam was like just making her go mad. Her obsession was to be family with Suletta, and she couldn't have that, and it kind of just drove her to the point where she kept pushing and pushing, I'm going to take this from you. But yeah, during the whole fight, obviously, Shaddiq decides to kidnap his father. Thanks for taking care of me this whole time. Need to get you out of the way. So, obviously, with Sarius being removed from his seat, I would assume that it's probably going to fall upon Shaddiq to step up and take over at least his branch, which, yes, Sarius was kind of technically leading the group. So that I would assume that's probably going to then fall upon Shaddiq. So far, like it's rejects of the pill industries. It's pretty much a lot of people that are stepping up to take control now that their parents are gone. So it's almost like all the children are now taking over the entire group. That seems like it's obviously the route that Shaddiq is going. He wants to take over the entire group and thus put into whatever effect he wants because, again, he believes that Sarius is thinking too small. I think he wants the Benneret group to pretty much rise up and take over the entire universe, which again is going to lead into a massive war over the next few episodes, which again, that leads to me my thought process. I think this is it. It's going to have Shaddiq rising up with Benneret group, taking over the entire universe, trying to fight back against the front, and then eventually Quiet Zero is activated and she saves the world, or the universe. I keep wanting to say world, but it's universe. Some additional notes. I was interested to see that Choo-Choo had hesitation because she technically experienced war for the first time with that plant being destroyed. And so for a very brief moment, she remembered that destruction and death that was happening, and it made her pause. And that was kind of the whole thing with this entire Rumble, is at some point having Sophie and Norie showing up, and they don't have these limiters on, and they start destroying things, and yes, killing people. It suddenly make everybody go, holy crap, this is actual real war. Like, they don't have the limiters. This is war. Which is kind of interesting, because I always kind of wondered why there wasn't as much of a threat of death in the duels themselves, is because they had these pre-limiters put on the Gundams and the mobile suits beforehand. But anyhow, we'll see where it goes from here. The ball is in Shaddiq's court, apparently. We'll see where it goes from here. I really do hope that maybe possibly in the next episode we'll also have Suletta confront Prospera. I really do think like we need Miorine and Suletta to come together, because I think the moment that both of them meet, either Miorine's going to be sold on what Prospera wants and keep everything from Suletta, or immediately she's going to tell Suletta everything And Suetta's going to accept it all. But it's going to shock Miorine because I think at that point she's going to realize Suetta's been brainwashed. Like, I told her all this crazy stuff her mother's doing, and she's okay with it. She's going to figure it out. So, we'll see. But that's my thoughts on this episode of Gundam, The Witch of Mercury. Crazy episode, like I said. Pretty much revealed almost everything. So, we'll see if they have other plans set up that we can get into. But we'll see. That's my thoughts on the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure to hit that like button down below. Comment. Let me know what's thought of the episode. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you got my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more, I have a Patreon link, a tips link, and a super thanks button down below. Greatly appreciate everybody does. And y'all take care.